Hi, it's Dave T here, and we're just looking at a very early preview of the new functionality we're putting in for social distancing in terms of Excitech FM in response to the COVID situation. Okay, so just to jump in quickly, I've got a locations layer turned on, so this is a standard layer at the moment. I'm going to go to the form, and you see here we've added a social distancing tab to the form, and this is likely to expand as we add additional features. First thing to note, actually on the right hand side, we've added the ability to set on a floor by floor basis the recommended social distancing distance in meters. So we've got a 1.5 meter recommendation for social distancing on this particular floor. We've also, for each individual location, we have the option of the location's social distancing use. So basically this is kind of if it's going to be used. And the options here are that it should not be used, so it should be left vacant and unused. It should be used for occupation, or there are an additional 6 or 7 letters. So these ones are kind of like no and N and Y for not use and use. And these ones are just A, B, C, D and so on. Now the reason for this is that we felt that some people may want to look at rotating desks to reduce cross-contamination on subsequent days. So in this way you can actually tag desks as being used for occupation but on specific days of the week. Okay. And we've also added an enclosed area so that certain locations can be tagged that they are an enclosed solo space, so that they don't come under the same constraints in terms of the distance, because they have a boundary effectively. Now you can set those individually, or indeed you can use the standard multi-selection to set those, but we're going to show some other ways of doing it in a second. Okay, so what we've also now done is added a section to the layers panel. Again, this is likely to grow. We've added 4 currently. So the first is we've got an adjacency layer. Now this highlights all locations which are flagged as being in use on that field I just showed you for social distancing use. So you see we've got every single location pretty much in use on this floor, and it shades, and the green is basically where there is no overlap on the social distance radius, which, as you remember, is 1.5 meters for this floor. The yellow is where you've got effectively a double crossover, so the radius for two people sitting side by side is crossing over, and then 3 and so on. So if you get lots and lots really close together, then that will go up in certain circumstances. So you see here we've got some obvious issues in terms of social distancing where there is a crossover. Now we are looking into some functionality in terms of working out where there's partitions in between desks. Haven't got that yet, but we'll look at that in the future. And also it gives you a general square meterage, so we can see the square meterage of kind of like safe social distancing, and then slightly more risky social distancing area here, just to give you a scope. So as you modify it, you can look at these figures and see whether things are getting better or worse. Okay. So the next thing we can actually do is we've got another layer which is actually an enhanced social distancing. And what this does is basically allows you to define an additional, so if there's a statutory guidance of, let's say, 1.5 meters, you can actually show this layer which is showing you the statutory guidance 1.5 meters plus, at the moment we've set it to 0.5 meters, so it's effectively a 2 meter radius, and that shows you whether you're going to get a conflict in there if you wanted to go above and beyond the recommended guidance. We've got another layer for the enclosed stroke solo space. So these ones that just haven't been set, these green ones are the enclosed spaces. And we have that usage flag where at the moment pretty much all of these are set as being Y for yes, use them. Okay, which obviously causes those problems. So what we can now actually do is we can set these locations and adjust them. So let's do this manually. So I'm just going to use like the shift key to kind of alternately pick these in like a checkerboard fashion. So it's not too time consuming, but it does take some time on a larger floor obviously. And then we can use the multi-edit. So this is standard functionality. We're just going to use a new field, and we'll set social distance for these are all currently set to use. So we'll actually just do the opposite, and we'll set these ones as not use. So now when we look at the usage, we can see we've got that checkerboard approach. However, if we turn on the adjacency layer, we do actually see, and then we'll filter that to the ones being used. So you see it's much better in this area here, but there is actually crossover. So depending on how stringent you want to be, and obviously if we use the enhanced one, which is a larger social distance area, then we'll have more of a problem. Okay. So also it's slightly time consuming to do that. So another approach is what we can do. To do this, we really want to set these as being off to start with. So what I'll do is I'll just do this area up here, multi-edit, and I'll say do not use these. So that just turns those off. Okay, so now we've done that, what I can now do is I can select a particular location. Now it's not vital, but it just gives you a starting point. So the first location you pick is the starting point for where it does this, and I'm just going to grab these ones up here as well. So what I can now do, again, multi-edit, so standard functionality at the moment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change all of these to use these for occupation. But before, if I just move this one side, you see we've got all of these selected. But before I actually go ahead and save this, I'm going to deselect based on adjacency, and that will use the social distance for this floor. And you see here it said it's actually removed 21 locations from the current selection. Now all that's done is if we push this to one side, it's deselected them. And notice it's when actually trying to strictly adhere to the 1.5 meter radius, notice it is more stringent. Okay, so we can then, we've made that change there, tagged the field, hit save, and it's going to save in the same way as it normally would. So when we look at our usage now, you see that we've got a kind of different picture, but also it's obviously very quick to do that. Now we're going to add some functionality in to be able to tweak the social distance. So if you want to kind of allow a little bit of overlap, because you know it's not going to be an issue, then you'll be able to do that as well. But you can see how this instantly picks up on the distance. We can go to adjacency, and you see how here we are totally safe here. There is nothing. Now obviously it's safer than it needs to be, and not as optimized as it could be in terms of using desks. However, you've got no crossover. But if you see down here where we just did it by eye, then you have actually got some crossover there. So that could be a potential issue for liability if someone realized that and then they felt that they'd been infected or whatever. Okay, so we've got those. There's other things we're looking at the moment, but that's a very early preview of some of the functionality which will help in these trying times. Thanks very much for watching. Bye now.